everybody. If I was a teacher, I'd say, everybody put your hands in the air and do this. You guys follow directions really well. Thank you. This is a very, very special day because in this day, 75 years ago, was it this day? I'm sorry, this month, 75 years ago, they had a dedication for the Bellingham City Hall. So this building is 75 years old. And luckily for me, I wasn't born until 1948, so I can't compare myself to its age, which I'm always happy not to be able to do. I have a special young man who is going to do the flag salute with me, and his name is Edgar Arroyo, and he's going to bring some friends. I'm not really a scary person, I promise. You're going to come stand by me. Stand there. Okay. Everybody have a microphone? Okay, what would you like us to do?
Your turn. Hola, amigos. We are the Birchwood Bulldogs. Thank you for having us here.
Oh, boy.
Please stand and join us for this flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very nice job. Thank you. Thank you. That was a very nice job. I want to thank a few people who actually put this event together today. First one is Mallory Estenson. Mallory, where are you? Right there. Mallory is our communications intern from Western, and she's the one that put together all the pictures and the displays for us, and I think she did a very nice job. And here, Sophia Blamey, come out here, Sophia. Sophia is my assistant, and she does so much, but she's usually behind the scenes. So this time she was a nervous Nelly about this, and I think it turned out really well, Sophia. So I would like to thank Sophia for her help. We have great BTV staff. Raise your hands and wave. There you go, Dale. Where's our other staff? DJ also is here. He's behind the scenes. So for all of you up in the balcony who wondered if you were going to be on TV, you're going to be on TV right now. So everybody smile nice. Okay. And finally, I was at a meeting out in Birchwood, and it was a neighborhood meeting, and spontaneously a group of neighborhood students stood up and started singing patriotic songs. And I loved students singing, and so I said, how would you like to sing at City Hall? And Mr. Strobel said, okay, he'd bring them, and he is the director. So I would like you to all stand up and let us welcome you to City Hall, students. And it says on my program that now Birchwood students sing. Okay.
Youth
Thank you, Birchwood Bulldogs. You did an excellent job. Thank you for coming to City Hall and singing in such a nice way for all of our visitors and guests. As we go on, I'm going to introduce Jesse Ireland, and he is going to play the bagpipes for us. Jesse is one of our firefighters. We have a very special guest with us, and one of the reasons we're having this celebration is because Lynette, and I'm missing here, Dr. Lynette Felber put the City of Bellingham City Hall on the Historic Register, and she's going to give us a presentation right now to give us some more information about the history of City Hall and how she went about honoring this special building. So, Annette, would you come up?
Thank you, Mayor Linville, for that introduction, and the Birchwood School for singing, and the bagpipes, and all of you honored guests. In a sense, we're repeating something that happened 75 years ago and honoring the City Hall, which now has 75 candles on its cake. I'm a local preservation consultant and a member of the city's Historic Preservation Commission. The Bellingham City Hall was built in 1939, and for me that raises two very interesting questions. The first is, how did the city get a brand new city hall in the depths of the worst economic depression we've ever had? The second question is, why did it need one? I think you all know this building. It's now our museum, and you probably know that it was our first city hall. But it dates back before the city of Bellingham actually existed. It was built during the period in which that part of town was called New Watcombe, and the city of Bellingham actually dates to 1904. We love this building today and consider it iconic. So why would the city of Bellingham want a new city hall? There are really several reasons, the most important of which is this building was built in the 19th century at a time when visitors came to Bellingham from the water. And if you've ever looked closely at that building, you've noticed that both the front and the back are almost the same. That's because both sides were considered so important in terms of how people would approach. But that style of architecture and that 19th century history was considered outmoded by 1939. People didn't like all the towers and the frills of this Queen Anne style. So they wanted something new, they wanted something more modern. In addition, the City Hall was considered to be outdated at the time. BTV put together a video where Jeff Jewell, our photo archivist, takes the viewers through all the nooks and crannies of the building. And one of the scariest things he does is go down to the jail, because that was really frightening and probably considered inhumane by 1939. They didn't even have showers for the inmates. By the time the fire station was built next door, the firemen would hose down the inmates for showers. I was pretty amazed to find that out. So Bellingham really wanted a brand new city hall. At this time, from the 20s to the 30s, Bellingham wanted to be a metropolitan city. This was the era in which the name of Elk Street was changed to State Street. The city really wanted to be modern and to have a modern city hall and to get rid of that old crotchety city hall. In addition, Bellingham wanted to form a new civic center. All of the government was located in the city hall at that time, but they wanted to form new buildings, specialized buildings for each function. So what we have today in our civic center is the city hall in which we're sitting, the library, the county courthouse, the jail, the old city hall, and the post office and the police department. So the city hall was really the first building to start that. Whoops, oh no, how did I go back? There. Okay, this is the north part of Bellingham at the turn of the century, the 20th century. I keep forgetting we're in a new one. So this was mainly a residential area, but this was the area in which they decided to build the city hall. As you could see, it was mostly underwater. It was tidal flats, and so they had to fill it in using a WPA, a Works Progress Administration project. And then the city hall was built here, and then the library just about here. Oh, I keep doing this. Okay. The city leaders were also influenced by the City Beautiful movement, which was a movement that started in about the 1890s that thought that cities should be beautified, and that by making cities beautiful, we would not only create something that was aesthetically valuable, that it would be more attractive, but that it would really be a public good that would make people feel better, inculcate civic virtue, and so forth. So the Planning Commission chairman in 1938 said he wanted not only a city hall, but a beautiful civic center with a public library and shaded benches and lawns. We did have a library at that time. Many of you have probably seen the pictures of the old Carnegie Library. But instead of a lawn, it had 45 steep steps. So they really wanted a new library, although they didn't get it until 1951. So the problem for the city at this time in the Depression was how to finance this new city hall. The city of Bellingham was really suffering. The staff salaries were decreased. The city's revenues were down by 30%. The city had very few fees at that time. There were no parking meters until 1948, and permitting fees, if they had them, were probably not going very well because there was no commercial construction to speak of. So the city knew that there was money available through the federal government New Deal programs. So they applied and were successful. What was really interesting about the way these programs were set up is the federal government paid roughly 50%, but they made sure that the cities paid 55% to make sure that this was not perceived as a federal handout and the cities were paying their own way. The city of Bellingham, of course, didn't have that money, but they were able to pass a voter-supported bond and put off paying it back until beginning in 1941. So this is why we have the plaque in the lobby that says that this was a Public Works Administration building under Franklin D. Roosevelt. People are often confused about the difference between the PWA and the WPA, and it's understandable because there were probably a dozen federal programs at that time as the government was struggling and struggling to find ways to put people to work. All of these programs had as their ultimate goal to create jobs. But the PWA was one of the first programs, and it was designed to help the building trades. So the PWA built the larger projects, they worked with contractors, and they created public buildings all over the United States. The WPA was more to support unemployed laborers directly, and there were many WPA programs in Bellingham as well. But the PWA, since it was associated with building, has become an architectural style. And this building is a beautiful representation of it. It has symmetry. The building, when you look at the facade, is equal on both sides. It has decorative elements, but they're very subtle. We don't see big columns or towers or things like that. And the buildings of under this program were also supposed to use local materials because the objective was to help local businesses. So this building is faced in a beautiful tan sandstone that's from Pierce County from a Wilkinson quarry. Oh gosh, I'm sorry. A few other buildings in Bellingham under the New Deal programs. Bellingham High School was built 1 year earlier by the PWA, and you can see that it's a very similar style. It's rather stark and industrial, but it does feature this beautiful art, the murals and the decorative flagpole. So it has a lot in common with our City Hall. The Whatcom Falls Bridge was a WPA project, and that was done during the same time period. Some of you may not know that that building was actually, that bridge was a recycling project because it was made from the arches of the Pike Block. This was a building that was demolished after it burned, and so they reused the arches. This building was located where Saturna Capitol is today, right next to our current YMCA. So with the money in hand, the city broke ground on the project, and it took roughly a year and a quarter to finish. Of course, there were the usual delays, but here we see it going up. And you can't see this very well in the picture, but the sign says PWA. The government was very anxious to tout these projects because the federal New Deal programs were very much under criticism. Conservatives said they were boondoggles, they were doing nothing but chasing leaves back and forth across the streets. And the government wanted to show how many buildings were constructed and how many people were employed. So we got our beautiful new Bellingham City Hall. It looks very much the same today, although the landscaping is significantly different and improved, I feel. The architect was Leonard Bindin. He was a Seattle architect who came to work in Bellingham in the Depression. It's not clear if he came because there was less competition in Bellingham. We certainly had plenty of local architects who also needed work. But he also came to Bellingham at this time to work in Edgemore. And he built some of the first homes in that subdivision, including a streamlined, modern house for himself. He pursued this project aggressively with the Planning Commission. You don't like it either. Okay, he came before them with plans and estimates about how much it would cost to remodel the old City Hall. He also brought plans to remodel the Montague and McHugh building, which was a department store that had failed in the crash and is now our Crown Plaza building. Bindin is also responsible for other projects that you might know. For example, the music building at Western. He created the Student Union building at the UW in Seattle, and he worked on the Norton building, which is one of Seattle's treasures. To my mind, one of the most attractive aspects of this building are the Art Deco features, which soften the classical severity of the style. We have these beautiful lanterns at the front of the building. We have another pair at the rear, which were used to light the police department. That was a nice way to enter the jail. Art Deco was a style that began in the 1920s, and they favored contrasting colors and geometric forms and glass block. And you can see our lobby is very well illuminated by that glass block. And you have that beautiful tile floor, which uses geometric shapes and contrasts. We have these lovely radiator grills that you might take a look at when you go outside. And they pick up on the fleur-de-lis pattern that's also seen on the exterior. One of the features that people are really curious about are these three strange statues over the entrance. And the government was very far-sighted at this time in supporting the arts because artists and writers were unemployed just like everyone else. So these projects often had some kind of public art or sculpture. Those three statues were sculpted by Dudley Pratt, who was a French-born Seattle sculptor. And everyone loves to speculate about what they mean. They look allegorical. They're faintly Egyptian. These are the two from the far sides. And although they're fairly androgynous, this one is carrying a baby, and thus we might assume that it's a woman. Okay, this one carries a cross saw. The lumberjack at this time in the Northwest was considered an icon of the laborer, since that was, before the Depression, one of our major businesses. And the figure in the middle is considered to be representative of local government. The figure, which may or may not be a man, but who knows, appears to be holding a book or a code or ordinance. And he has, or she, three faces, two that are facing outward to help the family and the laborer, and another one that faces forward, presumably hoping for better times and progress in the future. Our building is very intact. You could see the southwest corner in 1942 looks very much like it does today. Here are the lovely fleur-de-lis panels. They've been very well preserved. This is a historic picture that shows the police department and the jail in the back of the building. It was there until 1993. This sign says police. And here you could, Here you can see the bars of the jail cells on the top floor. This is a long shot showing the downtown. Some fascinating facts that I unearthed while I was researching this for the nomination. This jail did indeed have jail showers, and they were in each cell. But they were designed so that the inmates could not shower whenever they wanted. They had to wait until the officers turned on the water so that they wouldn't flood their cells, either for fun or in an escape attempt. The new City Hall also had a master clock in the janitor's room, which kept all the 9 clocks that we have in sync. I think that one's been recently replaced. Oh, well. And the bathrooms, the public bathrooms, had the modern innovation of hand dryers. We take those for granted today, but they replaced those old cloth roller towels that were extremely unhygienic. And the basement had a shooting gallery with 4 booths that was designed so the officers could practice their marksmanship. The last time I went down there, the insulated walls were still there, but there was a ping pong table in there for staff to use during their breaks, which is probably safer than practicing with guns. So, we have our new City Hall. You could see from this photo the library was not yet built or did not have its lawn. But I'm so grateful that we can celebrate this building. I hope it will be here for at least 75 more years. I don't think I will be, but I'm very happy if the building lasts longer than I do. So thank you for attending.
I've lived here my whole life, and I found out things I didn't really know before. So thank you very much, Lynette, for giving us that presentation. So I have one more activity that we have, especially for the kids. We brought, I don't have the date here, a historic fire truck that's outside in the front. That's usually fun to see. You kids want to go see a fire truck? It's really old. Okay, that sounds good. And then there's a reception down in the lobby. So thank you very much for coming and helping us celebrate the 75th birthday of Bellingham City Hall. And I hope you come back and visit us again very soon. Thank you.